Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. There's a lot happening in China behind the red iron curtain. It is important for us to understand what China is doing, especially in regard to Taiwan. There have been massive air incursions in the past couple of days, totaling to about 100 aircraft in the past 3 days. A lot of verbatim is being pushed around against Taiwan as well. To discuss all this, I have with me Professor Shen, directly from Taiwan. He was a part of the National Defense University of Taiwan and the director of the Institute of Strategic Studies. Today, he's a research fellow with the Institute of Defense Security Research, a think tank from the Taiwanese Ministry of Defense. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining me to discuss the situation about China and between China and Taiwan.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, Indian. Yeah.
So, let's begin. I'd like to actually open up the discussion. We were just having a chat about the aggressive tactics that the Chinese have suddenly taken up with regards to Taiwan. There have been massive air incursions. A lot of verbal messaging is coming out of China. What do you read in Taiwan? What is the reading about this entire situation?
Yes, we can see that from 1st October, many PLA, many China airplane, maybe different. You can divide it the different plane. Some is electronic plane, some is the fighter, some is bomber. Yeah, the more than to just yesterday, more than 56 plane, even in the day, even in the night, crossed our ADIZ, or so-called Taiwan Strait Middle Line, to the Taiwan Southwest area. Many experts very concerned this situation because we can see the timing now inside the mainland China. They have many trouble in their, someone say their power struggle. So also someone said several years ago they have a financial co-opted. This day is a power co-opted. But even though that, we can see that they send many planes to this area. I think they have two objects. Their intent is the first one is to the United States, UK, or Australia, because they form a military allied organization, AUKUS. We also can see that 3 aircraft carrier in South China Sea, a maritime exercise. And the second intent or second goal is toward Taiwan, because in Double 10 is our national day. Many senior officers from another country will join our national ceremony. Especially today, the former PM of Australia now is in Taiwan, will join this ceremony. So in the thinking or in the idea of China, they will see that Taiwan moved to Taiwan independence. So we need to warn, need to tell them not to do that. So the one action and maybe 2 or 3 goal or intent to stop. The third, maybe the China show the military muscle. It's saying that I can attack you a day, also can attack you in night. They also send the new fighter is a Su-35. I think it's the first time the Su-35 to fly into the Taiwan ADIZ. They also have a J-16 and Su-30. We know that China J-16 is copied from Su-30. And many plan is J-16. I think it's main air power in the future when PLA attack Taiwan. And we can also, from the media, we can also see that the U.S. DOD and U.S. White House also concerned this situation and told the people that they already have some channel to tell China not to do that aggressive Taiwan or against the Taiwan Relation Act. So we can see that U.S. concerned this Asian development, but Taiwan right now we do not do anything that provoke China. So I think China, if China want to warn Taiwan, but Taiwan not to do anything to provoke China, we're not any maybe just our MOFA Minister of MOFA uh, accept that some foreign media and say China airplane is enemy airplane, and we will do our uh, diplomatic some activity, something like that. But if it is a Taiwan independent, we do many things serious than this. So uh, I think China will stop later when their domestic issue is resolved, and U.S. exercise is finished. Where they will stop.
Interesting. So it's basically a show force which the Chinese are putting up there. They're trying to show a little force towards Taiwan just to keep it at bay and the other powers as well onto a certain track. So you mentioned there's a lot happening within the country of China. There is something that we hear from the Chinese quite often today, which is called common prosperity. A lot of destruction of wealth, attacks on education, attacks on cryptocurrency, and the way of life for the Chinese people, as per se. What is happening? Is this the
Yes.
second cultural revolution that we are seeing?
Although the Xi Jinping said the common prosperity, we look is an economic policy issue, but I think it's related with the cultural security issue. Because we can see the high profit of large company are actually related ICT, film and television culture, and the real estate like Hengda. In addition to that, China's policy, the three-time distribution, uh, cooperated donation, many big enterprise raise their donation to the country, and taxation. The Chinese government has suppressed various foreign film and cultural publication because of cultural security consideration. Why do that? Because China is afraid of that Western culture will affect socialist value and encourage the Chinese people to oppose or against the Communist Party. So it must be strongly prevented. You mentioned about the Cultural Revolution. The purpose of the Mao Zedong launched the Cultural Revolution was to hit Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping and beat the bureaucratic corruption because their agricultural reform, Liu Shaoqi's agricultural reform policy gained the popular support and made Mao Zedong feel insecure on security. Xi Jinping used a common prosperity to ban the cultural, industrial, and rebuild the financial order to prevent large companies from becoming a source of fund for political opponent rivalry. For example, Alibaba, Jack Ma, and Jiang Zemin had a strong connection, and media related to Jack Ma, such as the Hong Kong South China Morning Post and the Doorway, often take the opportunity to attack Xi Jinping and his policy. In terms of purging political enemy, these two cultural revolution uh, to action are similar, but Xi Jinping holds the military power and other official power. So unlike Mao Zedong, who believed that all bureaucrats are corrupted, so he mobilized a large number of young people to become red guard to defend Mao Zedong. But Xi Jinping does not have this strength, so he cannot mobilize the young people. And the bureaucracy is unlike Xi Jinping's change. Uh, they don't dislike Xi Jinping political change or reform, so they help they hope that Xi Jinping can step down in 2022. So it's different between the two cultural revolution.
Interesting. I mean, so what you're saying is that there is a power tussle which is happening amongst the leadership within the Communist Party, wherein one side is pulling on to the other, and Xi Jinping finds himself with some opposition. Do you think there is any chance of him actually stepping down in 2022, sir?
We can see that many strange things happen in China. We can judge from the recent strange movement of the Central Security Bureau and the military. And we also can find some the arrestment of some provincial leader and the justice administration and public security personnel, just like Fu Zhenghua, the former the leader of the public security Department of Public Security. Xi Jinping is now removing the obstacle to continue his power. On the other hand, the opposition faction, Jiang Zemin and Chen Qinghong, are also using a different opportunity try to highlight the mistake and shortcoming of the Xi Jinping's policy. For example, China already stopped the coal import from Australia. The shortage caused the electricity power lackness and has seriously affected the people's life. They try to encourage people to against Xi Jinping because try to make people angry about his coal mine, stop the coal mine import from Australia. And Xi Jinping also self-exaggerated achievement toward the well-off society, the so-called 小康社会. The other faction immediately exposed this liar because in mainland China they have many people is poor. All this prove that because of Xi Jinping's collecting his power has affected the interest of many people in the party. In the past 9 years, it was impossible to counter Xi Jinping to against Xi Jinping because Xi Jinping became the leader of the party through the legal procedure. And after 10 years in 2020, he will naturally try to stop Xi Jinping to continue his power because his term is only 2 terms. And at present, the conflict in China internal affair or diplomacy are due to this power struggle within the party, and even may cause the collapse of the Chinese region because a Chinese senior party officer Cai Xia now is in United States. He reminded that U.S. you should prepare that someday the Chinese region will collapse. But the outside world often ignore this point. If any country compromise or adopt a policy of mitigation to China at this moment, especially Japan, U.S., Australia, and India, it will likely to save Xi Jinping's crisis in the party and turning China into a powerful totalitarian state and will endanger the democratic war. But neighboring countries should also pay attention to Xi Jinping's initiation of breaking military conflict in order to transfer internal power conflict and try to shape the internal unity or gain more faction support. Or Xi Jinping will use the big military exercise to deter other countries take aggressive action toward China during the internal power struggle. They use this conflict to transfer the internal conflict to the outside conflict. This situation is what the United States, India, Japan, Taiwan, and neighboring countries in the South China Sea should pay attention to in recently.
Diversion of attention of the internal, populace. That's a very interesting, simple political game. When there is trouble inside, create trouble outside, so that the attention gets diverted. And that's a very interesting
Yes.
analogy that you've put across, sir. I'd like to ask you, coming back to Taiwan, with the formation of the AUKUS and of course the Quad, which is getting activated with the leaders summit, which has happened, in-person summit, which has happened. How do you see Taiwan realigning itself within the region amongst these 4-5 powers that are part of these two groupings, sir?
Yes, we also very concerned about the joint statement of the Quad summit. We also can see that in joint statement not mentioned about Taiwan Strait. It's different from that when the United States and Japan their bilateral summit, or Korea and the United States the bilateral summit, and the G7 summit conference. This conference, in the final, they will made a joint statement to concern about Taiwan Strait situation. Uh, in 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 Taiwan, there are some experts say that because of India joined this summit conference, and India uh, see this summit conference is a comprehensive security conference, summit conference. So not mention about uh, like Taiwan Strait issue, uh, the high politics, high political issue. So I think in the before I mentioned about that, now China is in internal power struggle. They try to transfer their struggle to the outside affair, and when China resolve the Taiwan issue, they also continuing the another issue, just like Senkaku issue with Japan and China-India border conflict. So we need to concern the continued situation development about the Quad Summit Conference. Also, you can see that uh, for Taiwan, because our capability in semiconductor technology, and many countries hope that Taiwan can invest internationally, such as the United States, Germany, France, and although Taiwan's strategic position and the role in the supply chain is so important, and because of China's military threat, so this country may not be willing to enhance cooperation with Taiwan, only focus on technology, but not in the security. Nevertheless, many countries have already understood the impact of China's strong expansion or occupation of Taiwan on the regional security of the Indo-Pacific region or the global geostrategy. In particular, the United States, Japan, and Australia will be directly affected if China occupied Taiwan. Not only will Diaoyutai's sovereignty be lost, Japan will be surrounded by the China strategic capability, and then the United States international influence and strategic assurance will also be reduced by China issue. And Taiwan does not expect the country in the Indo-Pacific region to establish diplomatic relations or military alliance with Taiwan immediately. I think the actual guarantee for the security of the Taiwan Strait must be more important. If the country in the Indo-Pacific region can fully cooperate and increase the intensity of military cooperation, it can make a huge deterrent effect on China military expansion. If any country consider that the interest of the itself only, especially for economic interest. It's easy to be defeated by China, which will eventually allow China to achieve its goal of becoming a world-class socialist power. Of course, Taiwan hopes to integrate into the such a cooperative mechanism, and Taiwan and we can see that Taiwan is very important in the first island chain. But because of the China factor, we cannot join the multilateral military exercise. Um, but if someday PLA will invade Taiwan, and then the leader of the United States will bring or lead many countries to intervene Taiwan situation. Uh, but Taiwan is in fighting, but United States would want to intervene. But how to coordinate the Taiwan military and the outside military? We cannot fight ourselves, and United States fight ourselves. But if they want to abandon or quit, it's okay. We fight out by ourselves. It's okay. But if United States, Japan want to intervene, data link, because we have same weapon system, how to connect the data link, how to exchange the war plan or operational plan, because maybe we have a same uh, uh, operation goal to attain by divided operational plan or one operational plan. Is very important. But if because we can see that in United States, their Congress, when they approve the Defense Authoritarian Act, also asks the United States government to allow Taiwan to join the REMPAC exercise. We know that the REMPAC exercise, China been joined that exercise, but Taiwan cannot join the exercise. But Taiwan can join exercise by different way. Maybe we can send the observer, officer or civilian officer to join exercise but observe that exercise. So let us to know that the procedure, their real content of the joint operation of the United States and Japan and another country. If Sunday they intervene in Taiwan Strait, we also what they are doing, and in the future what they are doing. So they can integrate and coordination the different part of three-party or four-party that war plan or operation plan.
Indeed, sir. I think that is very critical for the operations to become much more smoother and to understand each other. Otherwise, we'll be
Yeah,
tiptoeing on each other's feet. So, with regards to the economy in Taiwan, this common prosperity, of course, is taking away a lot of money from China. The Evergrande crisis is, waiting to explode on the world's face now. There is Tencent, there is Alibaba, and there is Didi, and so
yeah,
on and so forth. There are also certain sanctions that have been put across onto Taiwan as well, with regards to custard apple, if I'm, correct. Um,
yeah.
how does the common prosperity angle affect Taiwan economically, sir?
Okay. Xi Jinping recently proposed a three-time distribution to achieve the common prosperity, strengthen the regulation and adjustment of the high income, and encourage that high income group and enterprise to return their money to society. And many Chinese rich and large enterprise have announced donation plan. Especially, you can see that Alibaba has 100 billion renminbi donated to the government. And some Taiwanese businessmen now propose to set up a Taiwanese business charity foundation. They own a charity foundation and try to save the poor people or donate some money to help poor people. Or and even by this foundation to invest in China's social welfare and let Taiwanese businessmen do their best for the common prosperity policy. However, some Taiwanese businessmen say that under the impact of the pandemic, they are not earn many money. How can encourage them to donate money to the poor people because they are not earn many money. They must first hold on to their business before they can spare no effort to the charity. As soon as the policy came out, leading companies, including the Alibaba and Tencent, made donation to help common prosperity, but different situation because this is a big enterprise, big company. But Taiwan's company is not so big. Maybe the small or maybe the middle company enterprise. The Chinese government and to the foster more small and medium-sized enterprise and not be blocked to the large enterprise. But this will take time. It needs time to set, to reform that the small and medium-sized enterprise. And the help is not only the money come from the large enterprise. They need the legal, they need some policy to help them. If the time is too short and the pushing power is very strong, you have to use more fact number to cover up the problem because we're not sick, but you need to make it your policy is exact. So you need to change the number of this policy. Even if there are many people who support common prosperity, but the method, but the way are too drastic, there will be relatively large side effect. And this policy is actually to use socialist thinking, communist thinking, to resolve the problem of inequality between the rich man and the poor man. If the government intervene excessively, it will not only block the development of new creative industry or the culture creative industry, but also will force many companies to move to another country or other country for development after the tax increase, such as Southeast Asia and India. So maybe there's a chance for India. When Xi Jinping pushed his common prosperity policy too hard, too strong, maybe will force many Taiwanese business move to India. So it will make China's war factory name or war factory status might be changed, and the high unemployment rate will make the common prosperity become the common poverty in China.
That is true, sir, because a lot of people are losing money with whatever said and done, and that is going to affect the peace and tranquility within the Chinese state. Of course, people are not going to be happy with losing their life savings in companies like Evergrande and so on and so forth, and even investments which are going down the tube. The Chinese have actually put a stop towards the RMB traveling towards the United States from the way of the cryptocurrency. So, do you think
Yeah.
all these harsh moves suddenly, of course, in the past about 6 to 8 months, China has cracked down on its own country? Do you think it's going to sow some seeds of, unhappiness within the Chinese people, or they're not? They're just going to follow the party line, just like they've been doing all this while, sir?
Because Xi Jinping is right now is control the military, control the police, and many power. So although people in China very angry or not want Xi Jinping to continue his power, but they cannot do anything. But why some experts that say that China will collapse? because many different faction official or people now it make trouble to Xi Jinping. If Xi Jinping cannot resolve this trouble, just like maybe another border conflict between China and India, maybe in Taiwan Strait, because the one plan invade Taiwan and make a newer flight became a military conflict in Taiwan Strait, or even in South China Sea, U.S. and China, their airplane crash together or fire and destroy, and China PLA some missile operator launched the missile and attacked the United States ship. It will breaking the war between the China and United States. If breaking a big war or even the small conflict, I think the different faction will ask Xi Jinping, you need to stop, you need to step down because you make big trouble, because your policy is wrong. It make big conflict, it make big trouble. I think Xi Jinping will think about that. They cannot continue his the third term. They can continue his power. But if different faction act this and Xi Jinping not not negotiated or refuse to step down, maybe in China will be conflicts internal, and then PRA and then the other power maybe obey the another leader and make China uh, uh, breaking internal conflict, maybe will collapse. We can see that the collapse of the Soviet Union, the collapse of Romania is one day, just one day, and a surprising collapse. We cannot say that in China it will not happen, because inside many inside people or the people come from mainland China now in the United States, they mentioned about in the United States in the lecture circle that don't forget and be prepared that the club of the China.
Scary preposition, especially for India, sir. My last question to you, sir. We also saw some news that there is going to be a tie-up between India and Taiwan with regards microchips. It's a $7 billion agreement which is supposed to be signed between both the countries. With things like that moving forward, and that is going to be quite a stone in the eye of China, because microchips are going to be the gold of the future. How do you think it will affect the relations between the three countries? As a matter of fact, India and Taiwan on one side and China on the other.
Yes, recently your representative to Taiwan, Gorangola, does he accept an interview with the Taiwan newspaper, and he emphasized that India had deep and legitimate interest in maintaining the freedom, openness, tolerance of the Indo-Pacific peace, security, and prosperity, and promoting respect for international law. And and he said India will launch a bilateral and mini-lateral cooperation with partners with similar idea and to cope with the common challenges such as natural disaster, maritime security threat. And India is also working hard to formulate an agenda proposing to strengthen people-to-people or people-oriented governance and fighting a pandemic and building a resilience supply chain. And because Taiwan experience in fighting the pandemic and our performance in the mitigating the economic impact and pandemic have been outstanding. So the medical profession of the two countries have also shared their practice and experience and cooperated in the development of treatment, method, and vaccine. Yeah, you can see one of our vaccine now is tested in India. And he also said that he hoped to continue to promote bilateral economic and trade cooperation and jointly build a resilient and reliable supply chain between India and Taiwan. And it can be seen from this interview that due to the pandemic situation, Taiwan and India have increased a lot of cooperation in the pandemic and supply chain, but did not mention security cooperation matter. Yeah, we mentioned this issue before because we can see it's relatively low key. And for the reason of low key, so the progress and the improvement is not obvious between India and Taiwan. As China has increased its military deployment on the border recently, India is under increasing pressure on the border. If India hopes that the four-party or the Quad security framework can help the country, especially in defense technology, joint training or joint exercise, etc., it can cooperate with Taiwan. And in addition, the interaction and the contact between the people of the two countries can be upgraded to the interaction between military people of the people, military personnel. And we can share the knowledge about China research and increase the sharing of Chinese intelligence. Especially in recently, we can see China, maybe before the meeting in November, the sixth time meeting of the 19th Party Congress. China also showed their military strength, and we cannot clarify their intent of PLA in South China Sea, in the border near China and India and the Taiwan Strait. So maybe Quad or even Quad Plus can allow Taiwan to share our knowledge or share our intelligence with the different countries. Maybe the multilateral, maybe the bilateral only between India and Taiwan. I think it's helpful to India, also helpful helpful to Taiwan.
Absolutely, there has to be, I think you're right when you say that the pandemic has actually pushed the two countries together, looking at common perspectives. And I think this is going to be a start. India, of course, has its own issues because India, unlike many of the countries involved in this entire region, the only one that shares a land border and completely disputed one. So there is quite a bit of activity in that place, and of course, the kind of terrain that we are fighting in is also not very hospitable. So it's going to probably take a little time before this whole alliance actually takes some shape and some sort of action can happen. But till that time, I think it's best for both the countries to start talking, as you mentioned, and the people-to-people interaction, just like something like what we are doing and more, should happen so that it's beneficial for all. Professor, thank you so much for taking us through this journey of what's happening inside China. Why are they being so aggressive with Taiwan at this time? They've also tried some aggression at our borders in in the north as well, in a place called Bharoti in the northern part of India. So there is some sort of a connection between this entire thing. It's also the Quad, it's the AUKUS, it's the National Day celebrations of China, of course, yourself, which is coming up. So there's a whole lot which is, there in this entire pudding of events. But thank you so much for taking me through this entire thing, sir. Till next time, for another subject on another day.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.